Good afternoon. First, thank you for the organizers in the Center of the Study of Islam and Democracy. I've been following you for many years, attending virtually. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for the attendees. My presentation is about women's rights in Tunisia, and my case that I'm making here is the power of ideas in affecting change. And it's from within the framework of Islamic studies and family law. So I've been fascinated by Tunisia, I'm not Tunisian, because of mainly two factors. The country had a progressive Islamic thought and also a progressive human rights thought. So there were many first things that happened in Tunisia. Like the pioneering in the abolition of slavery in 1846. I'm giving you a historical background to get to present day. Also, Tunisia created the first constitution in the Arab countries.
Before the United States.
It's a slavery? Yes, indeed. And the constitution, the first constitution, was created in Tunisia, a modern one, in 1886. And Tunisia also modernized the personal status code, created a reformed family law in 1956 that abolished polygamy, for example. It gave more rights for women, restricted hasty divorce. However, it did not give equal inheritance, for example, for the daughter like the son. That remained different or less. There are many reasons for the creation of a relatively stronger human rights culture in Tunisia. One of them is early institutionalization, modernization, and urbanization, decentralization of power, and new reformed family law, improved legal status of women, empowered women, the foundation of civil societies and organizations, promoting human rights values from an Islamic perspective, or what Tunisians, in particular Professor Mohammed Sharfi, called it Tunisifying human rights norms, to make it acceptable from an Arab Islamic perspective. High spending on education since the independence, emphasizing tolerance, individual rights, progressive human right norms, such as democracy taught in textbooks from elementary to the secondary schools, and establishing specialization in Arab Islamic civilization within higher education. That's a focus of mine. It is taught alongside modern research methods, and this resulted in the study of Islamic studies, in using modern tools. So instead of just doing that within the jurists or the ulama, the traditional training in Islamic studies, professors used modern tools, and I will give some examples of those professors. But going back to history, one of the reformists and academic was Tahir Haddad, who wrote in the 30s about women and the empowerment of women. So he had this quotation: "The family is the basis of society. It lacks all happiness and harmony if it is not founded on a man and a woman who are united by love and respect. With our new reform, we do not only want to elevate the woman's level, but we want also to elevate the level of the Tunisian family." So we can consider this as a utilitarian approach to justice. He was not popular at that time. Ulama in the Zaytuna University also, although he is a graduate of Zaytuna, were against him. Children threw rocks on him. No one socialized with him in cafes. Thus, he died early in his 30s. But his ideas didn't die. That's the main point here. In 1956, some of his ideas became laws with the reformed status law. However, Bourguiba at that time, who supported the empowerment of women, didn't risk meddling with the more salient inheritance provisions based on interpretation of Islamic law. The state also sponsored secular feminism and the Tunisian school of thought in Arab Islamic civilization that I mentioned. This school of thought studies Islamic heritage using tools from modern academic disciplines. This includes legal studies, history, sociology, and anthropology. So alongside the study of maqasid, which means the ultimate objectives of Sharia, they also they make arguments based on modern secular areas of knowledge production, critical discourse analysis, for example, hermeneutics, deconstruction, gender frameworks, human rights norms, and equality discourses. Their thought have induced academic and grassroots mobilization through their knowledge production. So the way they promote their intellectual discourse takes the form of resistance to the classical interpretation of the Quran, the traditional juristic tradition, and new preachers' discourse, especially as it relates to women's rights and issues. And they are received differently. Some people see them in a positive light. Some are pushed back against their ideas. Some believe that they threaten tenets of Islam or the status quo or established male privilege. In general, throughout the years, with their work and the sponsoring of the secular feminism, the result in Tunisia is a religious diversity in a pluralistic world. Islam as a personal piety. So there's this emphasis that it's a personal issue. Individual rights, gender equality, discourses about that. Generally, these professors oppose a literalist reading of the Islamic scriptures, and they emphasize the historical context of revelation or of hadith. After the Arab Spring and the new constitution that emphasized equality between men and women in Tunisia, but it also described that the country is Arab and the religion is Islam. So for the secularists and the Islamists, these are contradictory ideas. So the third wave, or the professors from the academic, from the Tunisian school of thought, Al-Madrasa Tunisiya, they study the culture, the heritage in a critical way. Their service, their knowledge production was used by President Sibsi, who commissioned or formed the Individual Freedoms and Equality Committee on National Women's Day in 2017 to create a report about individual rights and freedoms. And this committee worked for 10 months until June and created a report. Their approach was participatory. They worked to create a project, what they said on their website, for everyone, for Tunisians. And so they had 33 meetings. They met with many leaders and members of NGOs. They met with academics and intellectuals to hear their opinion. They also opened discussion and dialogue with Professor Sumis Zaytouna, for example. And then they created the report, which is an interesting document. I think people will keep studying it for many years. It's available online. One of the professors who contributed, was a member in this committee, was Dr. Abdel Majid al-Sharfi, who is one of the founders of this Tunisian school of thought, Al-Madrasa Tunisiya. Another professor is Iqbal Gharbi, he's a professor of Islamic studies. So their work was to study the culture, or reread the heritage. So, for example, they emphasized that people are khalifa. This is theological argument, that they were created to be vicegerent on earth and do good deeds, help the public cause. So there's an emphasis on maqasid, ultimate objectives of Sharia, but also on the public interest, maslaha. And they tried to come up with an authentic discourse from within the heritage. President CSID, so they argued for equality in inheritance, equality in the family dynamics. So they want to abolish, for example, dower and maintenance and have men and women as equals in all spheres and in the family relations. Their proposed laws were not passed. President CSID, during his campaign and after, he just closed this discussion about equality, especially in inheritance. He said the debate around inheritance is false and misguided. We must first establish socioeconomic equality between women and men before talking about inheritance. Although for many women and many people who worked on that report think that it's a way to establish that equality. He said the Quran is clear, so it's just stopping all interpretation or all discussions about it. And that was also on the same day, on National Women's Day. So it was stopped, but my general conclusion is that engaging in ethical deliberation, reinterpreting legal and cultural social concepts in the Islamic heritage is crucial in achieving mass acceptance from the population. So in fact, legal reform depends on it. And to contribute to gender mainstreaming for the benefit of everyone in society, the approach to rights should be holistic and less selective to benefit one group or another. So my critical reading of the work of the Tunisian school and the report, and the importance of going beyond the textual analysis to think of larger goals, like the maqasid, for example. So I think that their thought, although it's stopped now, halted by the president, planted roots somehow, and it can affect change in the future, just like the ideas of Tahir Haddad. Thank you.